Good morning, my friends. Today I actually got up early enough to read the word and do a video. But my life is pretty hectic these days, but I wanted to share this passage. I never understood what Jesus was saying in this passage until this morning. I don't understand why I missed it. Maybe I didn't think about it hard enough. I think what clicked it in my head was reading the New Living Translation. I'm reading through the New Living Translation right now, which I didn't. Um, that's not what I'm doing the devotion out of. It's this is ESV, but uh, I'm not really too fond of the NLT so far. But it is what it is. I'm trying to read a different Bible translation every time I read it, and for this very purpose right here, because every version I read gives me a different perspective and helps me get a little more insight into something. And this passage in Matthew 11, I never understood till this morning. So I'm going to read it for you. And this is where Jesus is talking about John the Baptist, and he says, but to what shall I compare this generation? It is like children sitting in the marketplaces and calling to their playmates. We played the flute for you, and you did not dance. We sang a dirge, and you did not mourn. For John came neither eating nor drinking, and they say, he has a demon. The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, look at him, a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. Yet wisdom is justified by her deeds. And what he's saying is, and because I don't know why I didn't get this. We played the flute for you, and you did not dance. We sang a dirge for you, and you did not mourn. And then he goes into this next passage. He says, for John came neither eating and drinking, and they say he has a demon. John represents singing the dirge. We sang a dirge. We sang a funeral song for you, and you didn't mourn. The funeral song is reference to John because he didn't eat or drink, and he was in the wilderness. You know what I mean? And then we played the flute for you, and you did not dance. We did a wedding song for you. You know, the Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, look at him, a glutton and a drunkard. So Jesus is representing the one that that was trying to make them dance. He represents the one that's having a good time bringing the wedding party, right? Because he came eating and drinking. Okay. John represents, and I'll just show you real quick in the NLT, so you get where I'm coming from. Because now that I'm saying it, it's not as clear. He says, we played wedding songs and you didn't dance. So we played funeral songs and you didn't mourn. For John didn't spend his time eating and drinking, and you say he's possessed by a demon. The Son of Man, on the other hand, feast and drink, and you say he's a glutton and a drunkard, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. So there you have it. And I need to go back and look at the original Greek, but this is probably when you say we played wedding songs, you didn't dance. So we played funeral songs, you didn't mourn. That makes it so much clearer what he's trying to say. And then it makes sense. That's why he says afterward, for John didn't spend his time eating and drinking, like he was in mourning for a funeral. The Son of Man, on the other hand, feasts and drinks, like he was celebrating a wedding. So it makes more sense. Wanted to share that with you today. And what does that mean for us, right? It's like it can come both ways, right? The kingdom preaching can come through mourning or joy, you know? And I don't think there's a right fit for anyone. And I think it's seasonal too. But John's season ended in mourning, right? Like he didn't ever end up feasting in this life, He was in the wilderness. He was a voice crying in the wilderness, prepare the way for the Lord, and then his ministry was ended. And then Jesus' ministry was, feasting and drinking, and and but also ended in mourning, dearth, right? And even in those times where he would feast, there was always time set apart for prayer and everything else. But yeah, so it's interesting that God's saying He's calling out to us both ways. Like, hey, becoming all things to all people. If you need to be have have fasting and weeping, and that's the call that draws you, then so be it. But if you need to come and see that there's the joy of the Lord, then that can be your call. I don't know. That's just my opinion. So God bless you guys, and just wanted to share that. Amen.